Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to part 4 of making mistakes and fixing them. And we left off the other day on the grass, and we come in and we put our foreground bottom in, so we can paint on top of it now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in with the grass I like to call, I just call it soft grass or fluffy grass. I don't really know what the proper name for it is, but when we go to making it, you'll see. Now, one of the problems that I think most people have with this is when they load the brush. And let me show you how we load the brush for this particular grass here. You want to pull your, this is a 1 inch, pull your brush through the paint and get it loaded, and then leave it at an angle and then come back and push up. Just push forward in that paint, and you'll see on your palette it'll push up a little ridge of paint, and that little ridge of paint ends up being on your brush. So when you come up and you touch, it is a very light touch. You just come up and touch. Just come up and touch. Now it takes more paint to do this than you would think. So when you're touching it, you just want to just gently touch your brush to it and pull off. And when you start running out of paint, go back and get some more and load the brush the same way every time. Just by touching real gentle, you putting that line of paint on here that's coming right off that ridge, and you load that brush up every time the same way. Now, most of the time when you're doing this, I'm going to pick up just a hair bit of thinner. Most of the time when you're doing this and you're watching somebody do it, and they'll tell you, touch. Don't let your brush slide, or it'll smear. All right, this is what happens when you do that. If you come up here and touch, and you pull the brush, see how it smeared that? It's not near as smooth as this is over here. Now if that happens, all you got to do is come in here with your knife and just scrape that little bit of paint off best you can. And then if you have to, you can take a paper towel and just kind of make yourself a little point here. And you can come up here and you can rub some of the paint off, just like so. Then you can go back, load your brush up again, same way. Come right back up here and just get started back with your little touch and pull off. And that's all there is to this. It's just touching and pulling off. Now you can come into your other yellows, and you can come into some Indian yellow and some yellow ochre and bring those colors over. You can pick up a little sap green if you want to and bring it over to give it a different flavor. But then you want to come right back up under it and just touch. It's just real light touches is all it is. Just touch. And just be careful not to let that brush slide. And that's all you're doing. Now this is also where you start laying out your land, how you want your land shaped. And if you stay up here and you tap this You tap this too much, it'll start blending in, and this effect will go away, and you just end up with like smooth looking grass that won't have this effect to it, this fluffiness. But by changing these colors up from time to time, and by brush mixing, you end up with all these different flavors of color in here, and it just helps add to the effect. When you look at the painting and you see all these different colors, it just adds to the overall effect. You'll have your Indian yellow spots, you'll have yellow ochre spots, green spots, but it'll look more natural that way. Everything's not all the same color, because in nature everything's not the same color. You can even sneak in a little bright red from time to time if you want to. You bring it over, it just adds a little contrast. You can do that in different places, and it just dances around in there with the other colors. But that's all you got to do, is just keep your colors as harmonized and as balanced as you can, and just keep your lay of the land in mind. How you want your land laid out here, because all this is just a little heel back in here. And it can have different values of color. All right, I'm gonna put out just a little bit more of the cad yellow. These are all colors that was left over from a video that I did the other day. I can't remember which one it was now. I've lost track of what I'm doing next, or what I've done last. But I'm gonna go ahead and speed this process up now that we showed you the mistake that can be made here. I'm just gonna go ahead and put in some grass, and so we can get to the next step in this. But see, just because I changed speed, I didn't change the amount of pressure I'm using. All I did was just change the speed. But now you can also see something else I'm doing in here too. I'm leaving a lot of dark spots in there. And by leaving that dark in it, it adds depth to the grass. Makes it look like you can see into it in places. And then every now and then we'll still a little more green. Just like so. But all these colors, I mean, to me, they just add up so much to a painting. You can take some of these sometimes and come into it with like a color green, kind of like this green that we're going on with now, and then come back with little flower colors, and you can have a whole field up with little flowers out here that just zing. I've seen some paintings where guys do that, and it's really pretty. It looks real good. But as long as you just remember that this touch right here is gentle, and it's a straight on and straight back off touch, it shouldn't give you no problem. Because a lot of times, you know, when we using a brush, we want to, you know, we want to brush. That's the, you know, it's like the natural motion of a brush is to use it as a brush. Now, one thing you can do when you start getting closer down here to yourself is you can lay your brush down a little flatter and start tapping like this, and it'll make the grass taller, like across here, and that'll just add a whole new effect. It's like all of this fluffy grass gets down here until it gets to you, and then it gets taller. That helps sell the illusion sometimes that, you know, all of this is really grass. But you know, just like anything, you're gonna have spots that's lighter, spots that's darker. And the thing about it is, you don't start getting a lot of detail until things start getting closer to you down here in the foreground. And if you got some spots you're not happy with, like say you want to come back in here and change the flavor of this spot right here, well, all you got to do is come back in here and just add to it, you know, and it'll instantly change the flavor or the color, depending on which way you want to go with it. And that's entirely up to you. Because if you say you got a lot of Indian yellow in there, if you take and bring you some white into it, and that white gets in there with that Indian yellow and goes to mixing, oh, it'll look like the sun's just blazing through here. It'll just look like the sun hit that spot over there and just lit it up. The one thing you want to be careful with in here is don't get a lot of color built up on top of each other and start creating mud in here, because it's easy to do. And if you go to making mud in here, it's going to have a pretty big muddy spot. All right. That don't look too bad, but I want to come right over here and add just a little life right in here, just like so. Kind of straighten this up some. Yeah, about like that. Now it just looks like a little meadow that you could run through barefooted. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and knock the color out of this brush right quick, wash it. It won't take but a second to do that. All right, I guess we need to look at doing trees and bushes. Or we'll do trees and then we'll come back and do bushes. All right, first thing we'll do is trees. All right, let's do trees. I'm gonna do a tree with the little oval brush, the little round brush. And for that, I'm gonna go right into some Van Dyke Brown. Just a little bit of Van Dyke Brown and a little dark sienna, and just mix them both on the brush. This will be a good dark color. And I'll start down here. Just start giving us just a real dark corner down here, about like so. Just in this foreground. Then I'll come back and load up again. And just secure us off a spot through here. About like so. And anytime you're doing these kind of spots, always give yourself some different heights in here. You know, don't ever have it to where they're all the same height, because that'll kill an effect quick. All right, get this brush loaded again. Then we're gonna come out of down here in the bottom, and we'll just come straight up. Now a lot of people won't do trees like this, but this is just the way I do them. But I'm gonna come up right into the mountain here. I don't think it needs to be a real tall tree for this side. All right, and once you get your, I'll put just a little bit of green in that. Once you get your straight line up like this, you can come back to the top and just start giving it a shape, and then just work yourself down. You know, just bring it, you can bring it over as far as you want, drop down a little further, and just fill it in. You know, make it look like a tree. Just all the way down to the bottom, because you know you got bushes down here that's gonna kind of take up some of this, and just tap it in. That's all it is just tap it, just like so. You can come back and, you know, if you're not 100% happy with it, but just like that, that's all you need. Just off the canvas like so. Now you don't have to wash this brush just yet. We'll hang on to it a minute. Oh, you want to pick your script liner up, and with that you want to load it in the thinner. Kind of get it full of thinner. Come over in that same color that you was just making that tree with, and thin it out. And just roll that brush around in that paint. Just roll it around. Get it loaded with paint. And then as you go to pull it out, just twist it. Just twist them bristles. And it'll bring it out to a real sharp point. See how sharp that is? Then come over here to your tree. Come up through it. Put your trunk. And you can add your branch, and then you can add another branch. Just add you some branches through here, just like so. That's all you got to do. Just like that. Is that showing on the camera? I think so. I'll tell you what, just in case it ain't, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of white, just in case this ain't showing. And I wanna come back and I'll highlight this side. You don't really need highlight in here when you're doing a bush like this. But I do want y'all to see it, because what I'm fixing to show you is important. I want some of these limbs to be seen. Yeah, you can see that. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll spin this canvas around just to make sure that you can see that head on. Wait a minute. I can zoom in on it a little bit. I do believe. I have to move the camera real easy like. There it is. Now you can see it. Yeah. All right. I think just for this, no, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll use this little half oval brush because it's that's the one that usually has the black handle, but mine has a white handle for some reason. All right, I'm gonna put just a drop of thinner on this brush, just a little bit. I'm even gonna sling that off. I'm gonna come right into the yellow, into the cad yellow, and I'm gonna pick up just a hint of green. Now, this particular method right here, you got to tap the paint on the brush. Get them bristles open. Pull that paint and then push up that little ridge like we just did making this grass. But then tap them bristles open. Because if the bristles are not, well, I'll show you what it'll do here in just a second. But then you want to come up, and this is also a very light touch. Just very light. Very light touch. Okay. Then right here, a little bit. Now, if you can see where we done that at, right under that is dark. So you want to skip down just a little and leave yourself some of that dark. And then come in. Remember, it's a tree. Keep your tree shape, just like so. Just like that. Then you can come in and get you a little more paint. Making sure the bristles are open. Come out here on this one. And if that paint's not showing, don't push harder. Come in here and get you some more paint. And go back with that same touch. And then just kind of keeping that tree shape. Coming in on that. Just like so. Alright, now I'm going to pick up just a hair more green. Alright, if you come up here and your bristles are closed on your brush, let me show you what'll happen. When you come up here and touch, see how you got that straight line right there? I think you can see that on the video. Yeah. It don't have that leaf effect. It's got a smeared straight line look to it. And what you do to fix that is you can pick you up like a clean dry 1-inch brush, and you can come up here with just a corner and touch it and just kind of smear it in around. And I know that, it sounds kind of crazy, but watch what it does. See how it smeared that paint around? Then you can go back over here and get a little bit of your tree color that you was using, and you can come back in here and put your dark right back in on top of it, just like so. And then come back and open the bristles up, because if the bristles ain't open, this effect goes away. And once you get them bristles open, come back up here to the same spot that you was just in, and see how it gives it that soft open look. And that's what you want. Then up here on your limbs and your trunk, whenever you're going across them, okay, sometimes, now it's not doing it in this one, so I don't know how to make it do it this time, but I'm going to tell you what it does sometimes. Well, it did it right here just a little. This trunk has thinner in it because we put thinner in it to make it. Well, that paint is so thin that this paint don't want to stick on top of it. And whenever that happens, you come over here and just get you just a dab. I mean, just a drop, like an eyedropper drop, and put on this brush and work it in, making sure the bristles are open, and come back up here with that light touch, and see how it fills that in over that trunk. And when you fill it in on the trunk on this side, it makes it look like the limbs are coming out towards you. And then just finish your tree out. Just like that. You know, giving yourself some dark under here. Just like so. But the main thing I would say right here is, you know, making sure your bristles are open and maintaining your tree shape. That's basically your gist of it, as far as getting it to do what you want it to do on a tree. And your tree just kind of takes shape. And this brush is real good for making trees. It does a really good job. And if you want to, you know, you can let that paint set up a little bit. And if you want to come back, well, I mean, you could come back with white now if you wanted to. And you could add just a little bit of highlight on this side. Well, let's show you. I mean, I forget I'm doing lessons here. All right, I'm going to wash this brush out right quick. Then I'm going to pick up just a little bit of thinner. And I'll come right here in the white. And I'm going to pull it out the same way. And I'm going to tap into it, making sure them bristles are open. They have to be open. And let's say your sunlight's just coming from this way, coming across this mountain. You know, the sun may hit it right there. You know, just a little bit. And it may hit this one just a little bit. And maybe this one. And maybe that one just a tad. And then this one maybe just a little. I don't think it'll hit this one very much. But see how it just adds light to it in those several different places like that. It gives it almost a 3D roundness effect. I mean, it might hit this one just a little, but I don't think it'll hit it much. About like so. Out on this outside. See, I don't think it'll hit none of this side, so I'm not going to highlight none of that side. And whenever you're doing your final highlight like that, don't get carried away with it, because you know, you can come up here and do the whole thing white. It's going to look like it snowed on it. And we know it hadn't snowed because we didn't put no snow in. But just like that, I would say is a pretty decent example of those kind of trees. Take a break right there, and then we'll come back. I'm going to clean some brushes, and we'll do bushes.